Finding healthcare resources, so physicians, nurses, mental health specialists, dietitians, etc., is a challenge for a community like ours because we, even though we're not a small town, we are a city, we have a significant population, but we're very remote. So we're 4.5 hours away from Edmonton, away from major services, and it's really hard to get people to come into our community. And once people come to our community, sometimes it's tough to keep them here. And so, for instance, when we think about recruiting physicians to the community, sometimes it's not the physician, sometimes it's the spouse or the family that isn't happy living in our community, or it's tough to entice people to come in. What this group would like to do is look at ways that not only can we attract people, but how do we make sure that people really benefit from everything we have to offer in our community, that families coming in, not just the specialist or the physician, the nurse. We want to make sure the families see the value of our community, see what we have to offer, and then make sure they feel welcome and that we help them integrate into the fabric of our community.
I've grew up here since I was 8 years old, raised 2 kids here, one who still lives here and works here. Our kids growing up, they had opportunities that I think most communities of this size wouldn't be able to offer. Just because of the nature of the city, certainly the presence of big industry here has been helpful with fundraising efforts for sports teams and that sort of thing. So it was a great place to live, still is.
So I actually grew up in Fort McMurray. This is my hometown, so I'm a loud and proud Fort McMurrayite. And so having grown up here, I spent a lot of my time working in healthcare outside of the Wood Buffalo region, but the opportunity to join the PCN in the role of executive director came along 4 years ago, and I jumped at the opportunity to be able to come back to the community and contribute in this way. A lot of people think of Fort McMurray as the oil town, right? Like they're just oil. You don't live in Fort McMurray, you don't settle in Fort McMurray. Fort McMurray is the place you go and work. But actually we've had a very strong community here for many years, for decades, and I mean I can attest to that. And it's a really, if you can integrate into our community, it's a really great place to live.
For the size of Fort McMurray, the population it's like the Goldilocks thing. It's not too small and it's not too big. It's big enough that you have services that smaller centers don't have, but it's not so big that it's anonymous. You know the physicians, you know each other, you know the other pharmacists in the city. So it fosters that team feel where everybody knows one another. Love it here.